So we're going to talk about strategies today to deal with online shopping, but just to say, like so many things in life, there's no easy answer, and online shopping is one of those things. All right, we change and our buying habits change along with it. Then I went into this explanation previous to not recording about marketing strategies and how they gather information about each and every one of us. What sites we go to, how long we're on them, how many times we go back to them, whether we put things in the cart, whether we take things out of the cart, what the time interval was. They are gathering and they are synthesizing information about you so that they have almost like a laser focus on what your preferences are, what your vulnerabilities are, and what in the moment you're susceptible to. Moving on from the marketing strategies, just a few questions to ask yourself, all right, to assess what's happening exactly here and why is it happening to me? A third question I want you to ask yourself is, am I doing something in my behavior that is causing additional temptation, additional focusing of things that I might be particularly susceptible to right now? Am I doing something? So the first question would be, why is the shopping channel or online retail websites your viewing choice at the moment, today? What need are you expressing by being on that in the first place? All right, because it starts with you and it ends with your bank account or your credit card. And if it's going to attach itself to your life and your body, this was a purchase I made, self-disclosure. If it's going to attach itself to you and it's going to cost you disposable income, or it's going to add to debt you're in, you want to ask yourself, whose needs being met? Did I set out looking for this thing? Is this my choice, or is it their choice for me? Because boom, 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 so many things like the things recently or today that I've looked at are back in front of me. And it's like, oh, I can't look away now. I can't look away. What about the next one? What about the next one? It gets to be like the slots at the casino. All right. A little like Sesame Street for children. Remember? Everything was popping up and it was so stimulating and it just kept kids' attention. Well, it's a little like that for adults. All right. The second thing to ask yourself is, if after doing that 3-part question, all right, was this my choice or their choice for me? Is this something I am really interested in today? Once in a while, the pop-ups get it right. All right, you are actually looking for something akin to that. And the third thing, is this my best choice right now? Is this what I voluntarily, with a considered mind, want to do? What's stopping you from turning off either the television or the internet? Or at least surf the channels, surf other websites that are also of interest to you. If any one of the answers to that was no, all right, you have a choice. The sooner you make that choice, the sooner you bring that awareness to, was this my choice to be looking at this and for this, or their choice for me? And do I want to do it now? And if I move forward, what need am I looking to fill by this? Is it boredom? There's stuff a whole lot better on the internet, and there's stuff a whole lot better on TV than impulsive shopping, opportunistic shopping that you had no plan for. Turn the channel. If this thing is in the back of your mind and you think, no, you know what? Really, after I think about this, I do want to look at that. That's a considered decision. All right. I would suggest that if you didn't go on the internet, on that site to find those things, that the most you do that day as a strategy to put yourself on pause so that in the end, you make the decision you really want to make. You don't have regret, especially when the credit card arrives. If you're buying it on credit, especially do this. Put it in the cart and leave it there for 48 hours. And after 48 hours, you may have found a different balance and a different rationale for what you really want to do. All right. When you want downtime, what other choices proactively, once you see that this can be like a repeat pattern, all right. And I know that every time, one of my favorite things is to go on my cell phone and to just do a few hands of solitaire. It's so mindless. It's just like white noise to me. All right. But I noticed more and more, the more I've actively gone looking for something on the internet, the more I get pop-ups that are that company or are so similar to that company, it kind of piques my curiosity. All right. The other day I was on solitaire, just to show you no one is immune to this. Okay, they're masters. And sometimes the flesh is weak, let's face it, all right, in all of us. All right, but the point is, make a considered decision. If you're going to do it, you do it because it's your choice, not their choice. So I'm popping along, doing not too badly on solitaire, and this site comes up that I've never seen before. And I look at it and I think, oh, that's such a pretty dress. Oh, I might, oh, like this is the internal voice, right? We're so good at this, we don't even have to say it out loud. And I thought, wait a minute, Elaine, when was the last time you wore a dress? Like dresses, you might have 3 dresses in your whole wardrobe. You're not a dress person. So yeah, it's pretty, but you know what? It's not you today. Change the channel. Watch out for that one. They almost got me. Okay. So the other thing to ask yourself, if you're bored, and particularly during COVID, if you're feeling lonely or stressed or anxious or whatever, the stuff is never going to fill that. It's like taking the wrong medication for what ails you. Where are the people in your life who make a difference? Who, if something happened to you or something happened to them, that would make a significant difference to you. And I'd be speed dialing them. Am I getting you at a bad time? I have a few minutes on downtime, whatever it is, and just engage with them, touch base with them. Try something you like to do. Maybe you like to journal. Maybe you like to put earphones on and listen to music. Maybe you like to dance. Maybe you like to go out for a walk. Maybe you want to stroke your cat. Maybe you want to walk and love up your dogs. All right? Or your partner, whatever. All right? You will have more of the need you have met if you use what is already right in front of you and available to you. A phone call away at the most, a Zoom call away, which is free. You don't have to have the pro program. It's free. Zoom somebody, call somebody, FaceTime somebody, all right? And get whatever need you have met that way. Even if it's not 100% of what you need, it'll be a whole lot better solution than buying stuff, all right? Because there will never be enough of it to meet the need. You will come out of that exchange momentarily feeling bright and chipper and happy you've got something coming, or whatever that the trigger is. You'll get that for about that long. Okay, then the need will be back. All right. So nothing you see or purchase online cares about you like the people in your life, no matter how far away they are. Even relationships that have drifted. The other day I called somebody and I said, "Hi, voice from the past. It's Elaine. How are you doing?" They were delighted to hear from me. Are we close friends? Are we intimate friends? No, but you know what? The thought came into my mind and I thought, I have their number somewhere. Sometimes you'll get a delightful response that makes you think, you know what? I'm part of something bigger. The other thing I want to kind of bring up today is something I was just talking with the nurse about at my medical appointment this morning. I went in for an eye exam and I laughed about the fact that I got a call from Ottawa Public Health. Ottawa Public Health called the Queensway Carleton, and the Queensway Carleton Hospital called me last Easter Saturday to book my first COVID test, and I went in on Sunday. Do you know that, and I mentioned this last week, but it hadn't percolated down the real importance of it. At that point, it was just an amusing observation. I shared with you that I hardly slept that night because I was like a kid waiting for Christmas morning. And I was surprised at it myself. And I thought, isn't that funny? Social work percolate throughout the week. And I thought, you know what? Actually, that's a really important observation to bring up with my group this morning, particularly on this topic where we go looking to have a need that isn't a buying need, nothing that purchasing can solve. And that is this. For me to have that reaction, all right, I had to acknowledge that I was unaware of just how stressed I was as a face-to-face, in-person mental health professional. It was a measure of how stressed I actually subliminally was, and how much of that stress, not just me, but how many of you are in the same boat. How many of you live in apartment buildings or multi-unit dwellings or communities or whatever it is, or you have a need to go out where you have that reasonable fear of exposure? It's not, and we have to suppress that. We can't live with that intensively, imminently, every moment. So check the fact that, are you living with some level of whatever level of stress that you're sitting on, in order not to be half crazy every moment of the day while you wait for your inoculation, or you wait for the end of this episode that is something, just whatever has been sent to us to learn from. All right, I've learned that the world is a very small place, and we are all in each other's back pockets. I don't care where you are in the world. Sooner or later, I'm in your back pocket and you're in my back pocket. Are you sitting on that stress? And is online shopping or some other behavior, this is also analogous to any other behavior that you might engage in where it's not your deliberate choice. It's a response to something that maybe you can't quite put your finger on, or you kind of know what it is, but you have to suppress it in order to manage it. Acknowledge it, all right? That was like a little weight being lifted off. When I got that, I think I I was ready for Wonder Woman and her magic bracelets. I have to tell you, by the time I had that first shot, I thought 2 weeks, I'm Wonder Woman. Bing, bing. Not true, of course, but that's the way I felt. It was, again, a measure of relief, of stress I didn't even realize I was under to that extent. And I offer you the same opportunity by telling you that, to kind of gauge what your stress level is, what your anxiety level is, what your loneliness or isolatedness is. All right, because it's affecting you. Don't think it isn't. And it may be peeking its head through the surface, making demands that in the long run, buying can't solve. All right. When you're calling these people who you haven't heard, they haven't heard from you in a long time, I recommend that you ask them about how things are with them first, all right, rather than just sort of start off like you talked to them yesterday. It's a reminder when we're looking for our needs to be met that sometimes we are so enthusiastic we trample over other people's needs. Everyone has a story, and everyone needs to lighten the load by being a good listener, all right? Everyone can appreciate a good listener. Sometimes, fair share of the time, be willing to share with them and be willing to listen to them as well. It's a gift. While trying to regain control, all right, another strategy, if this has ever been a problem or it's rearing its ugly head again, or whatever other behavior that is going to cost you something, why not try to regain control in baby steps? Maybe turning the internet off is not possible. Maybe changing the channel in the moment or hitting the X button in the upper right corner isn't something you think of fast enough, and they get you. What would it be like to plan for it by getting a prepaid credit card that respects your budget? So it only has realistically what your available disposable income is, and only use that credit card. At least you're putting the brakes on. And those are available, my goodness, those are available at Shoppers Drug Mart. They're available everywhere, right? It's a harm reduction approach. Does it solve the whole problem? No, it doesn't. But it does put parameters that protect you. And they allow then for you not to lie to yourself, not to use things as substitutes that are going to harm you in a different way, that partially meet the need. So you're probably going to have a little need left over. You have enough of it, enough of that appetite, maybe. All right, maybe you have that satisfied. But then with the remaining need you actually have the patience to go and get it met by more of what will actually meet that need. Remember, the secrets. I think there are 4 secrets to life, basically. What do I need? Where is it? And how do I get enough of it to make the difference today? And the 4th secret is the ability to put yourself on pause. All right. Those are a 4-part winning combination. And it doesn't mean on pause forever. Are you a night owl shopper? Make a contract with yourself. No shopping after, and pick the time just before you are more susceptible. Doesn't have to be night owl shopper. It could be any time of the day shopper. You know what the cadence of your life every day is, particularly now with COVID, because there are so few activities alternate to being at home or being in a limited space, right? Life has gotten in some ways a whole lot simpler as far as logistics. So, because the options are narrowed. Pick that time you're vulnerable. All right. All right. And when are you more likely? In what circumstances are you more likely to feel bored? Can't tell you how many people in my counseling practice have said, you know, I am bored. Yes, I'm so done with COVID, but I'm bored. You know, I'm desperate for anything that is a break in, not even COVID, just the boredom of the sameness of every day. Feeling down. When are you more likely to feel down? Or need something, especially that vague kind of need, you know, the need where you can't quite put your finger on it and identify it, but it just kind of sits there humming at you, right? What do you do with that need? Another great suggestion, all right, to slow you down. And I can't take credit for this. This is one of my clients that I'm working with intensively. And I would ask you to send her positive, like all positive thoughts. She's in a bad place as far as shopping right now online. All right. And she had this problem licked. But so just send positive thoughts to her. But she came up with a great suggestion, which is a harm reduction strategy. And I want to offer it to you because I think it has real merit. Can't take credit for it myself, though. Another great suggestion is, and this will slow you down, is when you can't not scan the sites, okay, make yourself wait until the last purchase at least has arrived. And you've opened it and you've assessed it for suitability and you've assessed it another way. So when I bought this thing, how excited, how happy, how whatever was I feeling? And now that I'm opening it, how much of that feeling is left? Am I as satisfied as I was excited, happy, intrigued, whatever it was? Triggered is the word I'd like to use. So you do a then time and real time comparison. So how much did this really meet my need? Because if it met my need and I don't use this strategy, then I've been on a site somewhere looking at things, opening myself up to temptation, right? Just buying the risk of falling for it again. Wait until the last item arrives. You open it up. It doesn't stay in a box or a bag unopened, put in a pile somewhere. No. Open it. Tell yourself the truth. Have a look at it and assess. So did this really meet the need? As nice as it is, and it probably is if you picked it, and it probably is your taste if you picked it, but does it meet the need? Because if it meets the need, you don't have that need anymore. You don't have that need anymore. You'll be X in that top right corner because you know what? Met it, done it. No. And there'll be no resistance. There'll be no avoidance. There'll be no temptation. So if it met the need, it solved the problem. Chances are, though, it was an immediate gratification. And yeah, it's probably great, but it's not great. All right. You were looking for great in order to meet that need. This doesn't cut the mustard. All right. Probably anyway. All right. No matter what the item is, no matter what time of day, no matter what need, make a contract with yourself. If you're intrigued or you're feeling even slightly triggered, make a deal with yourself and keep it to take notes on it. You know, one of the things I started to do on my phone, because this is usually where they pop up, I take a screenshot and I put it in pictures, and then I give myself 48 hours and I go back over it because I get bored. I get, needing a little pick-me-up too. And I'm always interested, not necessarily in buying, but I'm always interested in tops, that so I don't bore you to death with the same 5 when I come to this. So there are strategies, okay? Decide, put yourself on pause for that. I put myself on pause for 48 hours. Everybody can put themselves on pause for 24, all right? And then decide. And don't put it in the cart though. If you're going to do this, don't put it in the cart. Reason being, if you put things in the cart, they're going to come after you and remind you. All right. Oh, you're still here. You didn't hit the yes button. Oh, what do you think about this? We have another sale. Here's a coupon, time limited, inventory limited. All right. They're going to up the ante. That's marketing. Is it your decision to be there or their decision for you to be there? All right. Never, one of the deals my husband and I made way out of the gate when we were, you know, newly married and on a tight budget was, no matter how much we fall in love with something, no matter how tempted we are, one or the other of us, even both of us, we have an agreement. We never buy the same day as we see it. Never. All right. No matter what they say, oh, there's only one left. Well, then it wasn't meant to be. And it's hard. It's hard because you got frick on one shoulder, you got frack on the other, and one of them is screaming at the other, hey, listen, we're going to miss out. And the other one's trying to be sensible. It's an internal struggle with your own personal frick and frack. All right. There's a struggle involved here. But if it's a good idea today, it'll be a good idea tomorrow or the next day. It'll be an even better one because you'll have thought judiciously and considered what the other options are that don't cost you something or that also solve the problem. And also, it'll be a little bit of anticipation too. You can figure out where you're going to store it and where its permanent place in your home is, where it remains available and accessible. All right. Put yourself on pause, no matter what the salesperson or the marketing system online says or does, no matter what coupon they offer you, no matter what advantage they offer you. If you buy now, know that, the more they press, the more you go limp. The more you don't fight it, just go limp. Nope, it's so, and the more, and the harder you try to hook me in, no. The more pop-ups you send me, no. All right, when you put yourself on pause, you stay on pause and keep the deal to yourself. It may be a good idea tomorrow. If it was meant to be, you can go back tomorrow. All right. Also ask yourself, what are the, now this is important and I want you to do this as homework before next week's, because next week I'm going to give you the list of what we're going to talk about. And it is the internal nuts and bolts about why we can end up in these situations that are frankly at a high level involuntary. We think we're making a decision. We think it's voluntary. All kinds of pressure and influences that we're not even consciously aware of happening. All right, we're not as voluntary as we think we are. And nobody can be permanently. So, give yourself a break, but don't take a break and shop. All right. Which is not to say don't shop. Considered reflective shopping. Yeah. Ask yourself what the priority problems are right now in your life. What are the priority frustrations? And we all have them. No one's exempt, not me, not you. What are the priority irritations? Here's a biggie. What are the priority longings that you have for yourself at this moment in your life? The longings is a big one. Anger, frustration, irritation. Yes, anger in particular. Longings are huge. Anger and sadness are also huge. The other ones are there, probably for most people, not as prominent. All right. And then this sounds so calculating, but I want you to learn that self-regulation. It is a life changer. All right. And you don't become a robot or an autotron. All right. You just become you, rather than who, what, something, or someone, or some station, or some marketer wants you to be. You're you. You're being truly you, getting your needs met. Do a pros and cons list of how. So say you got tempted, and say you did put it in the basket or in the cart. All right, it's going to stay there, believe me, and you're going to get reminders. So you don't have to worry you're going to forget it. They're not going to let you forget it. All right, so do a pros and cons list about how these desired items, these things that are about to become acquisitions, all right, will solve any of those issues, even partially. They won't. If they do, anger, frustration, irritation, whatever, they can be soothing, it can be exciting, it can be a little jolt of joy. They don't last longer than the lifespan of a fruit fly. They just don't, all right? Do the pros and cons list. Eyes wide open. Whatever you do, you're living a considered life where you're driving the bus, not getting pulled along behind it, okay? When you make that list, all right, of what those problems, frustrations, irritations, and longings are, with whatever length of time you spend on the internet or TV, take a piece of that time, just a piece of that time. Go to your list. In the next column, draw a next column. What can you actually do to mitigate or partially improve, solve, remedy, whatever, any of those problems? Because it's not going to be found in shopping or whether in person or online. It's not going to be. That's going to move your life forward. This purchase is going to last as long as it takes to either return it because there is huge regret. All right, what a waste of time that is. Or as long as, before you spill something on it, break it, get fed up with it, it's short term. And especially whatever the behavior is, that it could be shopping, it could be something else. Same strategy works, okay? Invest in yourself and you will get the rewards. If you don't invest in yourself, what do I need? Where is it? How do I get enough of it to make the difference? Enough of a difference. If you're not doing that regularly every single day, when you feel any of those things, a problem that's overwhelming you, frustrations, irritations, longing, sadness, regret, whatever, that putting yourself on pause builds awareness. Going to that third column and thinking, what baby step even today can I move forward with on any one of those? And you can. You're coming to this podcast because you're looking for ideas and solutions and options. That's why you're here, all right? Use it. Invest in yourself. And my suggestions or the suggestions that other experts that I incorporate in, or other clients who have had the same challenge that you're having now offer about what worked for them, those you can make even better when you apply your logic, because it'll fit better for you. You can improve on them. Another way, in chapter 2 of Conquer the Clutter, there is a tool in there. And by the way, the audiobook will be coming out probably within 6 weeks, I think. And there will be, for the audiobook purchasers, there will be a whole website that you get access to where every single tool and resource and picture with explanations is there for you in PDF format. You can either download it, I wouldn't download all of it, it'll be an awful lot of download, but you can download any that are on there. You can even, we're working on this with the webmaster, you can even take the quizzes, do the tools where you do calculations. You can do them online. Some of them, even the more complex ones that are more drill down quantitative, you can even do those and they will tabulate it for you. So this will be a really great resource. But whether you've got the book or whether you end up investing in the audiobook, in chapter 2, there's a tool called Figuring It Out. All right. And it's a really great tool. It helps you decide what you need to do to solve any of these issues and get the help you need to make the progress that you most want. All right. Remember, your willingness and ability to put yourself on pause and stay there long enough to give yourself the time you need to consider the decision you're about to make is being deliberately tested by online shopping marketing strategies. And they're doing it solely, not for your benefit, not to improve your life. Right? I don't think they mean harm, but they're doing it in the hopes that the suggestibility or their persistence of their advertising will wear you down, and you'll buy or express greater interest by going online to further research the details and eventually buy their product. That's why they persist. All right? It's like the water torture, drop by drop by drop by drop. If you said no the first time, get stubborn. Find a little drop of Irish in yourself and get stubborn. Okay? Nope, I said no, and now it's even a bigger no. Nope, nope, nope. All right. The other thing I want you to do is go back to last week's podcast and go over the 10 signs of compulsive online shopping. If you're asking yourself, I'm not sure I have this problem. All right. There was something about the topic today that was of interest to you, or sometimes people come to the podcast because they're kind of part of this podcast community. Love to have you. And they go, oh, well, I'm not really interested, but I'm gonna join. All right. And sometimes they trip over something that is said or offered. Why? Because when the student is ready to learn, the teacher will come. And sometimes we don't even know that there's a lesson going to be made available for us today. That happens in my life regularly. When the student is ready to learn and you are putting yourself in that learning position, the teacher will come. All right? Remember this. You are worth not letting yourself get propelled by feelings, even your feelings, especially those that give you a feeling of impulsivity or necessity or possible. Wouldn't it be great? I never thought of it before. Yeah, you know what? That would be a great solution. People go to the shopping channel because they're looking for solutions. They have problems, they have irritations, they have frustrations, and some of them are tangible and they're looking for answers and they get talked into it. Oh yeah, oh, I didn't know I had that problem. But you know what? Yeah, well, that won't solve the problem I'm uppermost in my mind, but that's a good substitute because that could also, I didn't know I had that problem. That could be, I could prevent having a problem. There aren't enough going for free today. All right, we have to buy things for what could be a problem. I think we've got enough problems going for free. I say work with today, whatever is really part of the negativity in your life today. So now we're going to start. I'm not sure we're going to get through the whole thing, but I really wanted to get to this material. Now we're going to talk about you, me, personally being spent. All right. We're going to start to talk about, and we will include more material next week, the emotional source of money problems. It's complicated. All right. It isn't just about budgeting. How family influences money behaviors. A great number of things may have happened in your family of origin, the family you grew up and you were born to predispose you to have money problems as an adult. Do you have to have them just because these things happened? Is it your destiny? No, it's not. You have the power. Inside you, you already have the answers you need. My job is to put little drill spots in you so that you can see it. You can get to it. It can come to the surface. It can pop up and say, yeah, this is what our problem is. Yeah, this is what the issue is. All right. And so let's look at some of those. Some of these factors overlap. All right. Some set activities or in motion a chain of causation. Some occur simultaneously. So you're predisposed. COVID's a really good example. All right. You're predisposed. You had some issue. We all have them. There's nothing wrong with that. We're flawed, imperfect human beings, just the way we're supposed to be. All right. That's okay. Is that our destiny? No, we are capable of change if we are motivated to do it and to follow through. So that causation, all right, is there. We're already in a stress situation and we come to it with certain vulnerabilities and those collide and occur. That the spark, as it were, occurs simultaneously. Just because you're anxious doesn't mean that every minute of every day, because you're depressed, whatever it is, all right, you're living with an addiction. Not every moment of every day are you as vulnerable as sometimes when they collide and spark. And that can be really hard to pinpoint. Triggers, yes, there are triggers, but life happens. It can get complicated, all right? And they're not neat categories, okay? But seeing them as categories, trying to sit back and look at what are the problems, the irritations, the frustrations, the longings, the sadness, the regrets, what are they? That's why I'm asking you to make a list of them for yourself, all right? And now I want you to sit back and I want you to ask yourself, okay, so if that's true, if these things are true, what are the common threads in each? What is common to some of these things? And they probably will break out into smaller categories, smaller lists. And once you can find or you can start to suspect what the common thread is, now you have a theme, right? And those themes point to some of the things we're going to talk about next week, right? And then there are strategies, treatments, solutions, approaches that you can put in place with support or by yourself or with the right information to limit the negative effect. Solve, I can't promise a solution, but I can promise if you put your back into it and you commit to it persistently enough, not every minute of every day, but persistently enough, I can promise you that you will improve your life. And you take credit for it because you did the work. No matter who sparked the idea, you're the one who made it work for you. Some of those factors include childhood trauma. Okay, having a financially stressed childhood where you, in some ways, you kind of got, it wasn't maybe deliberate by your parents or by their circumstances, but you had worries. You took on worries and responsibilities that are not fair for a child. You weren't developmentally old enough or skilled enough or advanced enough to handle those. And they can have an erosive effect on your feelings of safety or your feelings of responsibility. All right. Maybe you had parents who had problems with budgeting and money. Not that there wasn't enough of it, but didn't always go where it needed to go. I know people who have made really significant progress in their life where they grew up in families where, overnight you couldn't reliably count on getting sleep. Sometimes you had to pack up and get away before the landlord or the bailiff arrived because you couldn't pay, the parents couldn't pay the bills that needed to be paid. And that's not uncommon. Maybe you had begrudging parents who were so regulated about money and about so many other things that when you grow up, I see this a lot with spontaneous clutter. Parents that were rigidly, when I grew up, I had jobs, I had to do this, I had to do that. And my parents were on me and I couldn't do this. We weren't allowed to, there were all kinds of rules that were really strictly, rigidly put in place. And when now I'm on my own, woohoo, no rules, no holes barred. I'm not doing that. And people are still rebelling against parents who are long since gone. Rules that they don't need to incorporate for themselves. You're driving your own bus here. Did you not realize that's your hands on the wheel? There's no point in rebelling against things from the past. The past is behind you. All right. So begrudging parents, sometimes with money, Sometimes some kids they had to have part-time jobs, but they had to bank it all. And they wanted the odd little thing. They weren't taught to manage money. They were taught to deprive themselves. They were made to deprive themselves and bank the money, save the money. So there was no balance. Sometimes parents had serious conflicts about money, and kids saw that and developed a reaction to it. Innate and learned preferences that belong to you, that has your name on it. As an adult, distinguishing between these groupings helps you trace historical causes for your money problems. All right. But as children, you were unable to make the distinctions between all of these different factors. They were out there. You were experiencing them. You were feeling them. You were sometimes feeling the side effects of them, but you couldn't put it together in any discernible order that you could really see it for what it was. All right. Children feel events without the benefit of explanations, and that those explanations would help them understand. So when they don't get that explanation, they tend to experience them at a much deeper level than adults do. Also, as children, we all had very little or no control over events. That made us even more vulnerable to their impact if they happened. Children depend on parents for emotional support and physical survival. If either of these dependent needs weren't adequately met, then children learn not to trust their parents to take care, or that their parents would take care of them. All right. An example of that, we'll close on this and then I'll take some of the chat questions. For example, if your parents lost their home due to financial circumstances or a downturn in the economy that they couldn't prevent, as a child, you might have totally trusted that your parents could figure a way out. All right. And they couldn't. That's a trauma. Anytime a child depends on something fundamental in the family life, in their life, they are counting on their parents. And it doesn't mean the parents failed. It means the parents, in many cases, couldn't. But parents didn't want to worry the kids. And so they didn't give them explanations. They protected them. All right. And so everything felt random. That adds to a child's sense of fear and security, and will there ever be enough? And this is the time to get it when it's going, and it's a good deal. Let's get the deal, because if I buy 50 of it when it's on sale, I'm never going to get that price again. The store is closing out. You know what? I'm never going to get all of that. I'm never going to get all of that at this price again. Lucky me. And maybe I even have a plan to somehow sell it, but I never get around to it. All right. We're going to pick that theme up next week. I'm going to open up the chat line now and let's see what we have here. Somebody, Galaxy, offers another resource to this thank you very much, Galaxy, is also called smartecovery.org. Okay, that's great. Smartecovery, all one word, .org. So I'm going to start at the top and work my way down. How many do I have here? I must remember that I can't buy solutions online. Cookbooks don't cook for me. That's so true. That is so true. And the pictures are so great. I was such a great cook that my favorite cookbook was one that actually showed me what it should look like by the time it hit the plate. All right. And there was a time I enjoyed cooking. All right. It isn't now. Maybe that was then. Are you getting seduced by a lifestyle that you want? I was talking to somebody yesterday about that. I had a whole floor to ceiling built-in bookcase in a kitchen in a previous house. And it had little stuff on it, but it was just all my gourmet magazines, and they stopped publishing, and all the cookbooks. And when anybody died, they always gave me their cookbooks. I don't know why. Anyway, they did. Maybe they felt sorry for me. And then I would buy cookbooks that had great pictures, the covers. Was I ever going to go from A to Z through the vegetable cookbook? No, but it had the prettiest picture on the front of it. And I thought that would look really nice in the bookcase. So all that to say, we moved to this 3-bedroom, much smaller bungalow, and there is no bookcase. So I had to be absolutely brutal. And the first cut went, okay, all the special diet cookbooks went. That was the first thing. They didn't work anyway. And then they were, I had to keep my Aunt Nancy's cookbooks, all right? And the cookbook, that was the only cookbook I could afford when we were first married. And I thought, just as a humanitarian effort, I'm going to learn how to cook here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to work my way from page 1 through, and I'm going to learn how to do this, by golly. And so that one, the cover is ripped off and it's pretty dilapidated shape, but it had to come with me. And all my Aunt Nancy's cookbooks, because she was a master cook. And I believe that somehow those cookbooks were going to influence me. When they opened it up, Aunt Nancy was going to be there to say, okay, now you whip it until it gets shiny. And that's the secret. Okay, no, the cookbook didn't do that. So then they had to go. So I ended up with a core, what I thought was a core set of cookbooks. Well, guess what? I'm going through the basement the other day because I've redone my office and I need to relocate things and I need to get rid of things. And I find a box, we're talking a pretty big box, of what? Cookbooks. And I thought, I am not even going to open it because for whatever reason, they made the first and second cut, but they are not upstairs on the glass table in the kitchen with about this much space. All right, they gotta go. I was curious, I have to say. However, I used the rationale. You know what? You're not cooking anymore. Somebody else in the house does the cooking now. Time to let them go. Don't even open the box and trigger yourself. So sometimes you have to really be on yourself and apply rules that you walk the talk. Okay. You're right. They don't cook for me and they don't work. I know. And those magazines, all right, 10 steps to, okay, those magazines, 10 steps to decluttering, all right, that is the road to perdition. There are no 10 steps to solve your life. If you could solve your life in 10 steps, you wouldn't be spending an hour with me. Come on, you're like everybody else. You got your own fair share of challenges, but you want to do something about it. All right, you want to get the ideas here and the support here from people who are also really, truly working on whatever their different issues are. That might all end up in spending, problem spending, or it might end up in clutter, or it might end up in buildup, or it might end up in unsafe living conditions, depending. Okay, tip for reducing the, okay, thank you, San. Tips for reducing the temptations of online shopping: set up a dedicated email address that is only used for online shopping, signing petitions, donations, etc. I have one that I've labeled as garbage mail, and it's been a wonderful tool. Not only is my inbox in my personal email no longer inundated with junk mail, it's also reduced my temptation to be seduced by great deals. It also is it has instantly stopped the problem of my personal and email address being sold and endlessly circulated. That is another thing we haven't talked about, okay? They do sell your emails. Those are great. I guess what I'm talking about, though, is when you're on your phone or you're on your tablet or you're on your computer and the pop-ups come live, those are the ones that are most seductive because they are timing you, believe me. If you have to go back to a site and respond, you probably, and the other is not a problem, this is a great suggestion. We need something a little more intense, though, for that impulse, that impromptu seduction. So Sheila and Galaxy have corrected. It's called smartrecovery.org. All right. So there's an R in there. Yeah. So that's great. Answered all the chat. Thank you for coming. It was great to see all of you. I hope to see you next week. Have a great week. Make it great. All right. Do your homework though. All right. Because I want us to be able to drill down and really personalize this for you folks. You take care. See you next week. And it'll be the regular time. Bye, everybody. Nice to see you. Thanks for coming.